Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism. It's my hope that on this channel you will learn how to protect yourself from narcissistic relationships, protect yourself in narcissistic relationships, and perhaps heal from them or avoid them in the first place. If healing is your groove and you want to do a deeper dive, go to those video notes, click on that link. We have a much more robust healing program if you want to look into that. And if you're new to this channel, please subscribe and welcome. And if you do like this video, you can toss me a little validation. It goes a lot farther than you'd think. Give us a thumbs up. So today we're going to talk about the pseudo-empathy of the narcissist. And I'm going to give you also a very lived example today on this one. So what do you want to know about the pseudo-empathy of the narcissist? It's really important for you to understand this. So when we think about sort of pseudo-empathy, this is something that many of you have experienced. This pattern has been brought to my attention. I've experienced it. I've seen clients experience it many times. But it was just done to me this past weekend, so it is so fresh. And it was really brought into starker focus, like I was literally experiencing it in real time. Hopefully, because I just went through it, I can make my point much more clear here as a result. So let's talk again about this concept of the pseudo-empathy of the narcissistic person. What do I mean by that? One thing we have to remember is that it's actually not completely accurate to say that narcissistic people completely lack empathy. They actually have what's called variable empathy. They turn it on and off to get what they need. So it's not pure empathy, but it's more of a transactional empathy, and it turns on when they're actually having a good day. It also tends to be more of a cognitive empathy, saying things like, I understand why you might feel that way, but they really don't have emotional empathy. Oh my gosh, I can see you're sad. How can I be there for you? Cognitive empathy often doesn't leave us feeling much better or supported. It looks like empathy, but it isn't soothing. It's like Splenda instead of sugar. There's also something else that narcissistic people have, which I term macro empathy. And some of this overlaps with what we call communal narcissism. It's empathy for big groups of people from a distance. So feeling bad for a group of people going through a bad time, wartime, refugees, natural disaster survivors, or even getting into sort of an intellectual polemic about people who do bad things. For example, being angry about all people who abuse vulnerable people. This can also result in them berating the people who are actually around them in real life for complaining about the stresses of their lives. Ugh, how could you complain about your life when there is a war there, or explosion someplace else, or fires burning down this or that? So when you are having real pain or real hurt in your life, the narcissistic person will seem to have tons of empathy for a situation across the world, but have no problem invalidating, diminishing, or gaslighting the emotions or experiences of a person who's standing right in front of them. But to the world, they often look quite empathic because they're so worried about those people on the other side of the world. In my most recent experience that I just had of pseudo-macro empathy, this person was criticizing me for being too hard on narcissistic people and not giving them a chance. And ironically, after the call, I reflected, my life is a damn living monument to giving narcissistic people too many chances. And my messed up health and mind are the inscription on that stupid monument. But the person said that by me commenting on the rigidity of these relationships and the lack of change that we observe in narcissism, or at least that I observe in narcissism, and most of you do too, that I am not giving the narcissistic people a chance. Then the person proceeded to say about 15 terrible, unempathic things to me. I know it was 15 because I wrote them down as it was happening. The irony wasn't lost on me. Mercifully, I was on the phone, so I was sort of able to ruefully chuckle and roll my eyes without the person seeing me, which would have resulted in 30 more minutes of rage if they did. I actually did not follow my own Dr. Ramani rules, and I did the opposite of deep. I defended, I explained, and I engaged, but I will give myself some props for not personalizing. I laid out statistics and other nonsense to this person. It was a total waste of my Sunday morning. And while in this case, my providing evidence actually did shut this person down, the conversation really made me reflect on this sort of moralistic empathy that this person had for all of the narcissistic people out there. the absence of empathy this person had for me, a person to whom they're very close to. After the conversation, I felt invalidated, tired, wrung out, and as most survivors of narcissistic abuse do, I fell into that thinking of, what if this person's right? What if I am some kind of monster for pointing out these patterns and not being nicer to narcissistic people? Maybe I should be an enabler. And then I went to my inbox and read my emails, and then I was reminded that, yeah, it's probably really important that I keep educating people about narcissistic and antagonistic patterns and the harm that it's doing to them. I'm not sure if the person I was talking to is fully narcissistic. I do believe that this person does dislike me even though they remain in my life, so I think that they were just simply trying to find a way to hurt me. But the person does have a lot of narcissistic top notes. And I gotta say, this pattern of pseudo-macro empathy is one that cuts across narcissistic people. And the conversation was exhausting and tiring. So this pseudo-empathy is often very moralistic and self-righteous, and it becomes a tool to minimize one person's experience, a person who's right in front of you, by weaponizing empathy. Weaponizing empathy is kind of awful, right? It's like weaponizing a cute teddy bear. But for narcissistic people, it's easy for them to have empathy for a concept or a struggle that they're not directly in. And since other people only serve as tools for emotional regulation for them, they can use this pseudo-empathy for a reason to bash the other people around them across the head and then feel better about themselves because, well, they're only caring about those people who are so far away. The pseudo-empathy also creates an environment of enabling. Just as in my conversation where this person is telling me, oh, you're being so mean to narcissistic people. And just as an aside, listen, I'm the first one to say, if anyone with a narcissistic personality wants to do the daily work, be mindful in every interaction, stop using other people to regulate, be self-reflective, recognize that they aren't any more special than anyone else, and recognize the feelings of others, and do that every hour of every day, then yes, change is possible. The problem is that when life stress arises or disappointment happens, as it always does, because this is life, for example, not even being able to get the parking spot they want sets them off, a lot of all of these skills go out the window. The measure of a person is not how nice they are on a good day, but how graceful they are when the chips are down. If a person with a narcissistic personality can commit to this daily work, then change is possible. It's a unicorn, I'll own that. And for the people who are experiencing narcissistic abuse, waiting for the narcissistic person in your life to make substantial change while you keep enduring the abuse is like using the Powerball as your retirement plan. It's probably not going to work out for you. So the challenge is that to other people who do not know a narcissistic person well, okay, they're just meeting them, maybe they're more of an acquaintance. If they hear the narcissistic person sort of yammering on about the plight of other people and how much they're worried and want to give their A game to worrying about these folks, while continuing, by the way, to emotionally abuse the people who are living in the same home as them, these pseudo-empaths can look quite humanitarian and nice to people who don't know them well. That ends up fostering more enabling by other people, just like we see in communal narcissism, and the beat goes on. For survivors of narcissistic abuse who invariably are plagued by self-doubt, these shows of pseudo-macro empathy can confuse the hell out of us and very quickly leave us feeling like we're the bad one. Resist that impulse, that idea that you're the bad one. Sit with it a minute. Recognize that the person who showed you no empathy is showing it to a concept or an issue or people they've never met on the other side of the world, but they're incapable of showing it to the person sitting right in front of them. The capacity for narcissistic people to be empathic about things like issues or groups of people, but not to real living, breathing individuals, is a signature characteristic. And again, something we see that is pronounced in self-righteous and communal narcissists. My belief is that we can evaluate the kind of person someone is by how they treat the person who's sitting right in front of them. It's the only place to start. Don't get snowed by somebody's empathy for other people they don't even know when they have none for the people right in front of them. So this macro empathy or the pseudo empathy is a big problem, and it makes people say, well, it seems like they have empathy for everybody but me. What they have for those other people, I'm not even so sure that it's empathy, but you're absolutely right. They have very little empathy for you. Thanks again.